September 2022 PowerShell community call. And we're going to skip over Danny for now. Is Travis here? Travis, do you want to cover?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to cover your topic first?
Yeah, we have some new requirements for publishing images that are coming company-wide, and we will be simplifying the names we use for publishing. Well, we've already simplified the image names. Um, so we did have names that ended with a date, and those tags will no longer be published, and we'll be going back and deleting the um, let's get to the deleting later. Most tags are being simplified for stable. It'll be distribution name dash and then the version or some indication of the version like Ubuntu Focal or Ubuntu and then the version number 2204. The For preview, it'll have preview dash in front of that, or for LTS, it'll have LTS dash. So if you want something equivalent to the date, the recommendation is that you go look up the hash and you pull that image by the hash. There'll be more announcements about this coming in the future. For some vulnerabilities, we will now have to go and delete some of the images. So that is a possibility. So just if you're using images directly from us from production, just be aware that you may need to make rapid changes if a vulnerable image is removed. So basically, if you're using these images in production, make a copy of it. Don't use it directly. Any
If people
questions?
have questions about any topics, just put it in the chat window, and people will address it in chat. All right, Travis, anything else on that one?
Well, and the docs team is working on documenting this. This is just kind of to, you know, give the community an announcement of the idea.
Yep. And speaking of docs, Sean, I know you're here.
Yes. Let me share my screen. To give you an idea, this is kind of what the new tags look like. We're still in the process of getting this documented, like he said. So, but these are the distributions and the versions that we're supporting or working on supporting. For the docs update, a couple things. We've created a new landing page for what's new content. This gives you sort of a one-stop shop view to find all of the release notes, including these that have been archived and aren't in the main table of contents here. So we no longer, as you know, we no longer support PowerShell version 6, and PowerShell 7.1 is out of support as well, but the release notes are still available for historical purposes, so you can see what changed when. So that's a handy little page. My docs partner on the team here, Mikey Lombardi, has been doing a huge amount of work in the DSC documentation. So now DSC version 2 has a whole set of new articles. And as well, he's added documentation for the PS DSC resources module. Previously, this information was only available in the GitHub repo, and now it's available here in nicely formatted, standardized layout, including example usage. for both using the resources with invoke DSC resource and as a configuration. So lots of great work here, more to come. So stay tuned there. Also did a quick refresh on the docs for the PowerShell extension for Visual Studio Code. This is the overview documentation that's on the Visual Studio website. That this covers just the basic features of the extension itself, not so much how to use it. And if you're looking for more of the how to use it, it's here under scripting and development, and we have several articles here for Visual Studio Code. More to come as things progress. And just one last thing, we are planning on participating in Hacktoberfest again for the docs repo this year. Mikey and I are working on creating a set of meta issues that'll be good first issues for folks to participate in. So be looking for more information about that. We'll probably post a blog about it, and there'll be documentation either in the issues themselves, the meta issues themselves, or in our docs website. So more to come there. And
So Sean, let me just add to that one. Actually, a bunch of our repos will be participating in Hacktoberfest, and it's almost October in a couple weeks. So we should probably, you and I should probably maybe work on like a single blog covering all, make it easy for people to find all the relevant issues across the different repos.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, thanks, Sean. Anything else?
Nope.
Otherwise, here I'll share my notes screen again for those who care, although everything will be posted on the repo eventually. We can move on to the next item, which I believe is Anam talking about PowerShell Get.
Yeah. Hey guys, so we did a release for PowerShell Get, like a preview release, 3.0 beta 17 this past Friday, and this includes numerous bug fixes as well as some feature requests. So we have added a temporary path parameter for install, save, and update. We have added string and secure string as credential info types, or as credential types for PS credential info. We have expanded upon the acceptable paths you could provide for publish scenarios. So in addition to the root module directory, you could specify the module manifest file or the script file. We've also improved script validation for install and publish scenarios, and also made path required for save and a bunch of other bug fixes, which you can find on the blog post. Our next preview release will focus on performance improvements for find and install core scenarios, but we just wanted to get these bug fixes and feature requests out first. Kind of like last time, due to a dependency issue, this preview release is not supported for PowerShell 7.0, 7.1, and 7.2 preview 1, but it is supported for Windows PowerShell 5.1, PowerShell 7.2, and 7.3 previews. And that's something we also hope to resolve ideally within the next preview release. But yeah, we would love your feedback also. And that's honestly been what's been helping us kind of know what we need to work on and prioritize. So please keep feedback coming. Thank you.
Yeah, we're definitely getting close to considering a release candidate. So we will really appreciate feedback now versus after we get to release candidate or shipped.
Definitely.
All right, thanks, Anam. Let's see. So I still see in the chat a lot of people complaining that they may be seeing a green screen. Since some other folks are able to see what's being shared, I have to only assume it's on the client side and not on the presenter side. So do try to maybe rejoin might help. All right. In the meantime, Andy, since you just popped in VS Code,
Hi there. So, hey, we've got some updates to share about VS Code. I'm going to get my screen shared real quick. Um, the main thing we want to point out is just we did another set of preview releases through August, and then ended August with a bang with a new stable release. Um, this stable release actually included our intern project, which is this new walkthrough that's available. So they worked with a lot of the community to like actually do surveys and gather customer feedback and like figure out how to make a walkthrough that is useful. So now if you have VS Code and you install the PowerShell extension, you can actually open up this walkthrough that will step you through like installing PowerShell 7, how to choose the new version of PowerShell, how to create a PowerShell file with nice little buttons that opens up a nice new PowerShell file, how to switch the sessions over there. It's yeah, that's a new feature you can check out. We're glad that it landed. It probably still needs a little bit of work. Was an intern project. Like we have an open issue against this that these instructions are to install an MSI. You can actually like run different bits depending on what OS you're on. So that's on our radar to like get cleaned up and improve. But we're just super excited that this is here. You can even now toggle the ISE mode if you want, so you can check that out after you've installed the extension. Be like, is this what I want? Oh no, I didn't like it. You can just click it again and go right back and hopefully have your theme be restored. That might be a bug. But yeah, that's probably the big new feature. Also shows how to like show the panel and close the panel, and links you to some more resources. And we asked you to share your feedback when you're done with it. So go ahead and get that checked out. That was the big new flashy shiny thing in the extension. Underneath the covers, we also updated like our LSP client library. This was the other side. You know, I probably talk about LSP all the time, with PowerShell editor services being the server side of this. In the client, which is the extension itself in VS Code, that TypeScript code, we actually use a library mostly maintained by the VS Code team, that is the client side to actually communicate with that server. They went through a huge update that we had on our radar to pull in for quite a while. I went through the process of getting that library updated. This was really nice because the library itself got a lot of TLC, especially around like the initialization of it. We used to have to like use the client to start the server and then register our handlers. And so we had a bunch of these race conditions where like our handlers and notifications and eventing stuff wasn't quite registered in this little time period between the server starting and the registration happening. They flipped it around. We're now able and do so. We now register all of our relevant handlers before the server starts. That was a nice new feature to see happen in the client library. We just had to update to get it. With that update, things are a lot more smooth. We are not seeing nearly as many problems with the server actually getting started and connected, because once again, we actually can have all of our like get the version, have that handler ready to go, and then start the process. So that's just everything is ordered correctly now. So that was really great to see. There was a huge number of bug fixes made it into this release. More regression tests as always. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this blog post pasted over into the chat, and maybe I got 10 more seconds, I guess. Our big upcoming features like for the next release. Patrick has been hard at work getting the references to be more performant. So if you are somebody who operates on repos with like lots and lots and lots of PowerShell files, look forward to the next release because should be a lot faster for your references. We continue to work on improving IntelliSense and debugging as well. And we have on our radar to get the shell integration in VS Code working in that PowerShell extension terminal itself. So I think those are the big ticket items. I'm trying to think what I was working on. I'm also working on cleaning up the debug launch configurations. Right now, they're not very consistent. That was pointed out to us, and I took a look and agreed. So hopefully, you guys are all using the preview, and through the preview, you can make sure that we don't break too many things as we change a lot of under the cover debug setup. So please get that preview installed and give it a test. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Andy. Seeing that we actually are doing well on time, I think we have a bunch of community presenters coming up next. I don't think I need to share my screen, but maybe next time in the future I'll share the screen versus the app. Maybe that'll help. But Mike, you want to go over community news?
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm going to post a bunch of links in so I don't forget to do it later. I'm going to run through these all real quick. And so I didn't know that Sean and Steve were going to talk about Hacktoberfest, and I just wanted to point out Hacktoberfest is starting next month. If you're not familiar with Hacktoberfest, do some pull requests against a repo. I think if it's 5, you end up with a free T-shirt. One of the cool things is the PowerShell repo is code, and the docs are also in the repo, so you can make docs changes, and they count towards repo pulls. So take a look at that. There is a website for it. I didn't grab the link. That'll be coming up in October. But in September, on the 27th, we have PS Conf EU MiniCon. And you might not be familiar with that. It's a virtual event they're doing this year, free for anyone to attend, but they're limiting it to 350 people. So if you are interested, sign up soon. I took a look at the website this morning, and man, they got over 40 speakers, um, including some PowerShell team members that are going to be doing stuff. So there's lots of good stuff that's going to be presented in that. Link is in the chat if you want to go there. Definitely a, a, a heavy list of some really awesome people presenting stuff. So I would definitely check that out. And along those lines, in December, we have the Automation Summit that's going to be coming up. And so you can buy tickets to that. It's going to be 3 days. I think right now we currently have about 25 speakers scheduled for the event. It's in Nashville. James Petty, I see him on the call. You can reach out to him if you have questions. I put the link for the Automation Summit in the website. And so if you're not familiar with the Automation Summit, it's very similar to the PowerShell Summit, but it's a little bit more DevOps focused. And so it's not just focused on PowerShell exclusively. And so James has a great website that explains all the details. I recommend you go take a look at that. It's going to be a fantastic event. And that leads us to the PowerShell Summit. So PowerShell Summit is in April, but the CFP will be opening on October 1st. So if you are looking to be a presenter at the PowerShell Summit, get ready. That window is coming up very quickly. We're going to be using Sessionize this year for CFP submissions, and there'll be lots more information on the website as well. So keep in mind all those big events that are coming up. The last 2 things I'm going to mention community-wise is James put a bunch of work in this month, and the calendar that is published on the PowerShell.org website is working once again. Maybe I'll demo it later. PowerShell.org/calendar has a list of all the big events that are going on in the community for user groups, conferences, and things like that. And it's an open calendar, so if you'd like to get an event that you know of on the calendar, reach out to myself or James. We'd be happy to do that for you. The nice thing is the calendar is a web page. It's also an RSS feed, so it makes for a nice, easy place to find everything going on in the community. Coming up in a little bit, I'm going to be doing a secret management demo, and it's going to be like 5 or 8 minutes, and it's hard to do secret management in that amount of time. If you're interested in a bigger picture, next week I'm going to be doing a full demo of secret management at my user group on Wednesday night. You can come and join Phil and I. We'll be hosting it in person if you're in the Raleigh area, but it's also a hybrid event. If you want to join us, you can jump in via Teams. And so we'll do a deeper dive on secret management, and that's next week. And that's the stuff that I have for the community this month.
Awesome, thank you. Let me just add one thing that I don't know. Sometimes I get pinged about this, and I don't think it's obvious. So, for anyone doing like a meetup or like a local user group thing, that if you want to have someone from the PowerShell team participate or present, feel free to just ping me. We can make that happen. Obviously, if there's a time zone differences, we'll have to figure out how to make that work. All right, so let's get to some cool demos. So I think because we're kind of doing well on time, imagine you probably have up to 10 minutes. All right. So let's start with Adam Bacon.
Hi guys. Oh, yeah, pleasure to be invited onto the community call and that. Really do appreciate it and everything. I'll just look at getting my screen shared. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, Steve.
Is it not working?
I did
or?
have lights, but it's disappeared. I don't know if you
Okay,
want to
hold
jump
on.
with someone else and I'll come off and come back in. Sorry, my button's not
No,
working
don't
on
worry.
there to present.
I'll change it again. There we go. All right, you should have rights again.
Yeah, brilliant. Awesome. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I don't often get to show off my stuff. My kids aren't very interested in it. Yeah, I'll just quickly flip this over to a dark mode because I prefer that more. Can everyone see that all right? Anyone?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Sorry. So yeah, this morning actually I thought, yeah, I better make this a bit more understandable. Basically I got building this website. I've built it all using Markdown, which is kind of like kindergarten HTML. It's very easy to use and understand. I've actually got that showing here as a binary module, the retype module here. But yeah, basically I was working an IT contract. I knew that was coming to an end, so I got putting this website together. I know that a lot of people do amazing stuff with PowerShell, but it's normally complicated and sort of work related. So I was just trying to find some fun things that you could actually do with PowerShell. So I've got like a bunch of stuff here. For instance, I was very heavily into PowerShell Universal when a company that I was at was using it. I love the fact that you could do graphical things with it. So I actually found this oh crumbs, yeah, this charting that would do that, and obviously that's the one web page that I haven't checked. I've got like a MAC address finder, so I've put all my code on here, and I do have repositories for most of these. Um, like little things like when you're posting URLs, I realized that the whole PowerShell gallery, there's no URL shortener. So, I found an API that did that. And I talk about, what is an API and kind of, I do like comics as well. Hence, there's a lot of comic pictures in there. But yeah, all my code's there on what I used. I believe Mike, actually, I saw it earlier. Thanks, Mike, for bigging me up on my Twitter and just stuff that I tweet about. So I found out through Adam Driscoll about Crescendo, and so I've built quite a few Crescendo modules. T-Shark, I found that I actually used Wireshark to solve this really difficult problem at the work that I was working at. So I decided that to make that into a PowerShell module, and obviously all the details, for why I've done it are all on here. I've put all the code. I will be looking at revisiting some of these to make them better. I've even got things like speed tests. I mean, Crescendo is so cool. I actually had a chat with Jason and Jim. Sadly, I wasn't using the world's best browser, Edge, which I am today because I couldn't share my video in that. But yeah, these Crescendo is really cool because not only can you revitalize old commandlets, well, not even commandlets, old school DOS commands like robocopy, which I think Mike quite liked, and I will actually update this and put some GitHub and everything. But all the new command line things out there like Azure and Kubernetes and yeah, so many more, Docker. So as well as doing standard advanced function modules, I've got some binary modules here as well. So actually retype here is the one that I use to actually build this whole website and everything, and how it all works and everything. So I was lucky enough to be invited to the Southampton PowerShell user group, and I've got the talk that I did on retype here on how to get this up and running. And basically I'm hosting this on Netlify. You can also host it on GitHub, but it's dead simple to get building websites with this. And like I said, I spent quite a bit of time writing this documentation, but these are all kind of just fun modules that just do crazy things. Some of them might be useful, some of them might not. It might just like reading comic books or reading PDFs, displaying pictures in PowerShell, just things that I just didn't think you could do, which, you now can do. One that I particularly liked was ASCII art. You see it out there, that like this one here. So back when I was a kid, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of the coolest thing on TV. And oh crumbs, sorry, can't see the ASCII because I've changed the whole website today, arranged it all. But yeah, that's one of Invincible. If you guys saw that on Amazon, what an amazing comic adaptation animation series. But yeah, that's just all in Notepad, and it's crazy what you can do with it. Yeah, you can even make photographs into text. Sorry, just zoomed in. And lastly, sorry, just I don't want to kill too much time. I've recently been using PowerShell Universal again. Just wanting to use it. I helped out actually the lovely Chrissy Lemaire. She was after a particular component for it. So, I talk all here on how you can build custom components, and, there's quite a bit of information there to read, but hopefully it'll be worthwhile. And, that this is the end result of that component, is that when you hovered over the image would zoom in, and then as the mouse goes out, the image disappears. So I do like to use GIFs and things on some of the stuff I've been creating, but yeah, these are actually React components that I'm turning into PowerShell components that you can use within that product. But yeah, so I've got a few categories of my different modules there. So on my website, I do try and make GitHub repositories for all the modules that I do post on the PowerShell gallery. Yeah, guys, I recommend checking it out and finding out some fun things you can do with PowerShell.
All right, very cool. All right, I think next is Charlie.
All right. Let's see how this goes. Thanks for having me, everybody. I'm going to step through kind of how this came to be, and then I'll do a demo of it directly. A couple years ago, I was looking for an open source project that I could, instead of just building my own and contributing myself, I wanted to have something where I had experience being a maintainer. And I was talking to Miguel Diaceza, and he had created a project in .NET to create cross-platform console UI or terminal UI applications in .NET. And he graciously let me kind of take that over and maintain it. And so if you're not familiar with terminal.gui, at one point it was called GUI.cs. It's a .NET-based cross-platform toolkit for building graphical apps within the console. And I'll just go give you guys a quick demo. I was just playing with your speed test thing, by the way, which is very cool. So I'm going to get to this by actually showing you how out console grid view works. I'm going to type dot, and then I'm going to hit F7, and I'm going to get a graphical display of my history. And in this case, I want to run this UI catalog project, which is the demo application for terminal.gui. I'm showing this all within VS Code versus going to a web page, so we can all kind of see it. I hope everyone can see this okay. So this is the demo app that we built as part of terminal.gui, and as you can see, terminal.gui has all of the things you'd expect in a graphical UI library. So, for example, we recently added the ability to have a wizard framework. So if you wanted to have a wizard for your setup app within a terminal, you have a full framework for doing that. It has all, and so Terminal GUI has all these capabilities. And there's just hundreds and hundreds of features. So I'll post a link to the repo and you can check it out. But as we were working on this, we discovered that Tyler Lenart, who used to be on the PowerShell team, had built a new version of OutGridView, which is a traditional GUI, Windows and somewhat cross-platform GUI experience that provides a grid view for PowerShell. He had built one using terminal.gui that work completely within the console, and it's called Out Console Grid View. And I discovered that as I was maintaining terminal.gui, and I got to know Tyler. And I helped to make some changes and some fixes, and now we've recently done a new release of Out Console Grid View, and it's quite cool. My primary use of it is taking advantage of PS read line, having a graphical ability to view your history within the console, and I've got it mapped to F7. And so if I hit F7, I see all the commands that I've run. If I hit enter on one of those, it's going to put it right on the command line. For example, in that case, CLS. Let me real quickly show you the README for graphical tools. Again, I'm showing this within Visual Studio code, but this is the README from the repo. And the base of the way it works, I'm just going to show a couple demos. You take any PowerShell command that outputs objects, and I'll paste that in. Whoops, that's not what I meant to paste. Why did that not work? Copy. There we go. And so that did get processed, piped in it out console grid view. And now I can go through and I have multiple selects. So I can select multiple things. And if I hit enter, which will accept that selection, it returns those 3 objects. So OCGV gives you the ability to graphically manipulate anything that you deal with within PowerShell, and of course it works cross-platform. So I'll do the next demo. This is in WSL. Here we are in a Debian Linux, and I'll do this one where we're going to get process. We're going to specify which objects we want and sort it, and then pipe it into out grid view. And so here's those processes. I use a variant of this. And I actually have this in my PowerShell profile as kill P. And so defining that function. Now, whoops, that's not right. Why is sometimes copy and paste in VS Code doesn't really work? You guys notice that?
I don't know. If you can repro it, open a bug.
Yeah, I'll try. So it worked that time, the 4th try. So that defines the function. And now I'm going to start Notepad on my machine here. Actually, let's just run that. I'll just type kill P, and I'm not going to. And so let's see. I'll kill. I don't want to kill code. Let's kill something fun. Let's kill the stupid Logitech app. So all I have to do is type kill P and Logi options. And now, boom, I've killed that process. So actually, I haven't because I'm not in admin mode, but you get the point. The README file has a whole bunch of examples, but one of the things that I mentioned earlier that I use very frequently is F7. And this repo here, which I'm not going to click on because it'll take you to a web browser, is a little PowerShell script that you can include in your profile that will give you this F7 support. So if I hit F7 again, I get all my options. If I hit Shift F7, it's going to do the global history. And so I'll type get and then Shift F7. And this shows all of the Git commands that I've done over the last couple of days across my machine. So that's the gist of it. Does anyone have any questions?
I think there may have been some, I'm not sure the questions or some responses in the chat. Let me just add 2 things real quick that may not be obvious to people who are not familiar with text UIs, TUIs. Out console grid view can be in the middle of a pipeline, right? So you could actually have something happening, emitting objects, and then have this as an interactive way for like an IT pro or admin to select stuff, and then it continues executing against those objects. So that's one thing. The other thing is that one of the things I like about console GUIs is that you can use it in Cloud Shell, VS Code, Windows Terminal, iTerm2, over SSH, unlike a WPF app that generally won't work in those environments. So that's why I think I would love to see more investment in these kind of tools in the future.
Here's a quick demo of that, Steve, which piping get process into out console grid view, and then taking the results of that and putting it into a file. So here it will come up, and I'll just select all the 1Password processes, hit enter, and now if we cat that, the contents of that file are just those 1Password process entries.
You want to also just quickly, I noticed you didn't show like the filter field on the top.
Oh yeah. So in just using the command history filter, this is fully supports regx, but I can find all commands I've typed that had start in them, or anywhere where I've used a bar. So it supports regx, which that shows, and so run that one again. There you go. And
Definitely,
filter also can be provided on the command line as well.
Yep, very cool. All right, thank you, Charlie, for that. We can, if there's any questions, Charlie, you should probably take a look at the chat to see if there's anything specific that you want to respond to. I think, Mike, we're back to you for secret management.
Okay.
You got about 10 minutes, okay?
Real quickly, let me just answer one of the questions. Yes, this is in PowerShell in the gallery. Just install Microsoft.PowerShell console GUI tools to install it.
All right, Mike.
Okay, so first off, hey everybody, how about a virtual round of applause for our presenters today? It's not easy getting up in front of the community, especially a big call like this, and doing this stuff. I know Adam was very nervous, and so we appreciate people putting in their time and their effort, and we'd like to encourage everybody else to try to do so. If this is an open forum and if you have something to share, we would love for you to be a presenter in the future. So with that being said, what I'd like to talk about today is secret management. And so let me get myself set here. I'm going to start off with a quick little image because I think secret management is a module that people don't necessarily understand the pieces, how they work together at first glance. And so when you're using the secret management module, you actually need 2 modules to get started. And so what this image is depicting here is up here in your console. If you wanted to use secret management, which is in case you're not familiar with it, secret management is a module that allows you to store secrets safely encrypted in a location in a vault. And so you use the secret management module to interact with the vaults, and the vaults each have their own modules. And so to get started saving secrets, you need the secret management module and you need a second module. So Microsoft has created the secret store vault. That's for saving secrets local on the machine, but you can also save secrets on the web, in private cloud. There's about 15 different modules out there. Some of the more popular ones, like you see here, Secret Store, KeePass, these work on your local disk. You can use LastPass. And today I'm going to show you a little bit about Azure Key Vault. And so what these do is essentially, when you use the secret management module interacts with these vaults so that it can retrieve the secrets in a secure way. But the bonus is that you at the top here, you don't need to learn the syntax, how to recall and make secrets for every one of these vaults. Secret management uses it by using a common syntax that all these vaults support. So when you're interacting with, let's say, Azure Key Vault, you don't need to understand what commands need to be done to create and save an Azure Key Vault secret. Secret management does the work for you. So across all these vaults, it's the same get and set commands to recall and create secrets, and that's what makes it so useful. And so I'm going to show you a quick demo of that here today. And so understand that I'm doing a demo next week, and we're going to do probably 45 minutes to an hour and dive into a lot more than I'm going to do today. So if this doesn't make a whole bunch of sense in 5 or 10 minutes, please join me next week. But so the first thing I want to do is, let me make sure I'm disconnected. Okay. I want to take a look and see what vaults I have on my machine. And to do that, I say get secret info. And so I was expecting this error, and I'm going to explain that in a second. So what here is a list of the secrets I've created, what type they are, and the vault that they're installed in. And so the vault names and the names of secrets can be anything you like. I like to use names that make sense to me for what my secrets are. And the vaults, I use the actual name of the repo of the module, so I know whether that vault is local or not. And so this red message here is telling me that I have another vault registered in the module, but it can't connect to it because I'm not connected to Azure right now. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a command to connect to Azure. And so I'm going to reach out as a service principal, and I'm actually going to use one of the secrets in my vault. I'm going to use this one here, which is in my local vault. So I'm going to use that to connect out to Azure. And I'm also using a second secret here to pull in my tenant ID. And so you can use more than one secret in a commandlet. And so when I do that, when I get rid of this, connect. And so I haven't interacted with my vault in a long time, more than 15 minutes. So it's asking me to put in my master password for my vault. And so I do that. And now it's gone and has extracted the information from the vault, passed it up to Azure, and made a connection. And so now when I go back and I look at the vaults that I have here, you see I have 2 extra secrets because now my secret management module can connect to this vault called AKV, which is the Azure Key Vault. And just to show you here real quickly, of course, every time I demo, my dog wants to bark. Let's try this again. So this is my Azure tenant, and I have a test vault out here. And so you can see here, I have 2 secrets called cred mklab and my ID. And so those are those secrets right there. And so if I wanted to, I could easily create another secret. It's just a simple set secret. And today I'm going to do a secret called PS community call. And I'm just going to create a simple secret called this text phrase. And so you can do more complex things like credentials, like a PS credential, like I have here, or you could just do a simple text one. I'm going to do the simple one for today. And so when probably because I have it already. So let's just make another one. Yeah. Okay. So now if I go back here, so now if we refresh, you can see I just created a second secret and it's dumped it out in the key vault. And so I can recall those secrets as well. And so that's what I'm going to do here. Secret management is really about authentication in most cases. So I have a lab VM running here. It's just a DC on my local machine. I'm just going to make a connection to that. And just to show you for simple purposes, how come I can't type when in live demos? If I try to do an NTPS session to this DC, I can't because I'm running with my standard user account that doesn't have any rights on this domain on this DC. So, but I can authenticate with an alternate user by using the credential parameter and pulling in a secret from my vault. And so just to recall here, get secret info, shows me the secrets that I have in here. And if I want to see information about the secret that I want to interact with, so get secret, let's do that PS community call 1, 2, and I can recall this as plain text. And so you can see, I can see it there. Now, if I was to recall my PS credential, that's not going to look the same. Because that's a secure string. And so I would have to save this as variable. I would have 2 parameters on the variable, username and password. I could then pass this secure string into a convert from secure string, and I could reverse that password. And so that highlights why sort of like saving passwords in PowerShell is not the greatest, and why you should use the vault, because these secure strings are reversible. But when it's in the vault, it's encrypted and at rest, can't be hacked or anything like that. So it makes it much more secure. And so now when I want to make that connection to that DC, here I am. I'm just going to say connect to that DC. I'm pulling a secret here from my vault, and this vault happens to be in Azure. So if I do that, I should make a connection here in a few seconds. And so now, if you're not familiar with enter PS session, I now have an interactive command prompt on this DC. I can confirm that by just saying host name and who am I. And so you can see I'm now logged in as that admin credential. And before I wasn't able to connect to the machine. So once you get your vault set up and you put a couple of secrets in there, it's very easy to create and recall vault, create and recall secrets and pass them to commandlets, whether they be to your machine, to a machine in the cloud, to a lab you have. It's a super simple thing to do once you get started. We're going to cover a lot more in this demo I'm going to do next week. Install and config, best practices, things like that, how to connect to Azure, how to create access policies, and all those great things. So if you want to join me next week, I'll do a deeper dive next Wednesday. I hope that was enjoyable to you guys. I have one question I want to ask, which is when I did the community stuff earlier, this is the third or fourth month I've done this. And so I'm just trying to get a feel. Are we presenting the information to you guys and girls that makes sense? And what I'm sharing with you useful? If it is, just give me a thumbs up so I know to keep doing the same stuff. And I'll pass it back to Steve.
Thank you, Mike. That was great. The one thing I'll just add, maybe you want to talk about this at your more detailed talk. You can actually store a whole hash table. So if you have like multiple bits of information for Azure, you may want to just have it as a single hash table versus individual secrets.
Yeah, the other thing, so I probably still have time I could show, there's also metadata on the secrets. So you could put, I like to put notes about the secrets because you know what ends up happening, you create these secrets and you give them, cute little small names and you don't remember what they actually do if you don't use them all the time. So I like to put in the metadata notes about what that secret is. I haven't had a great need for the hash table to put multiple bits in there, but it is a possibility and I'm going to show that.
Awesome. All right, Chris, again, anyone who has questions, feel free to just put it in the chat. Chris, you got the remainder of the time.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Yes, thank you. Should be quite a quick one. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris. So the purpose of this demo is not just show a new module that I recently created, but also how it works behind the scenes and how you could use it in some of your scenarios. So the problem that I had, and that was actually quite a common one, the biggest time in the start of my PowerShell session was consumed by my profile, and that was the import of the PostGit module, which a lot of folks are using for prompting or tab completion. Because I'm using Git a lot, I put it in my profile, so I started moving it out, so then only when I'm in a Git repo I'm imported, but then it was a manual step, so I thought to myself, so how can I make it better? Well, I could write my own wrapper function, a function that is my own version of change directory, that changes the directory plus imports PostGit whenever I'm in a Git repository. And there's actually a better solution for that, and that is called a proxy function. And that means we can basically extend the function, hook into certain parts either before the function starts or at the end or in the pipeline. In this case, it's something very simple. I just want to run something at the end when we're changing location. So let me just do a quick demo of that. Let you see it in action. So we've got a terminal here. If you do get module, we see it's not loaded yet. So I can CD, and that is still fast. So it's not doing anything. There's no slowdown. But once I change into Git repository, it takes like a second because it's now started to import it. And voila, we've got PostGit imported, which we see by the prompt already. But this confirms it. So how is this working behind the scenes, and how could you use that in some of your other scenarios? On my repository, I've got instructions how you can generate a proxy commandlets. There's a couple of blog posts out there. It's actually technology that has been out there for many, many years. But when I started reading the blog posts, they were really, really long. We're talking like 4 or 5 pages. And I tried to extract like, how can I quickly get there? And without skimming like important steps. So the important step essentially that you need is those 2 command lines that give you the command shell, you could say. Once you run this, you get a string, and this string basically looks like this. And all I did is I wrapped it in a function, so it's just adding this one line for the function, moving the help to the top, closing the brace, and that's it. And that is basically a proxy function of set location, which is the actual command that runs when you do cd, because cd is technically an alias. And so you see what the command is doing behind the scenes. And in this case, I just put a simple hook into the end block to import the module if it's needed. So you could use that in some way to extend a commandlet that might be external, and do some custom action, maybe some validation before it runs. There's many use cases. In this case, it just allowed me to do something quick without really having to do my own wrapper around it. Bear in mind, this is specific to the commandlet. So for example, this right now works only for PowerShell core, because if I run the same thing for Windows PowerShell, it's slightly different because parameters are different, because it's kind of replicating some of that. You could in your module just have an if else depending on your PowerShell version, and then you import a different proxy command. But this just did the job for myself of having a quick startup of the shell and only importing the module when I really need to. So I'm just gonna drop the link to the repo in there in case someone else wants to read. Open to any questions, but yeah, it's just quite a quick one.
Oh, very cool. Thank you, Chris. I think we have only about 5 minutes left. I actually took a look in the RC repo, and I don't see any questions that haven't been answered already. And then I think in the chat window, I wasn't able to follow because there was a lot of stuff coming in during some of the demos. But I didn't notice anything that was for the PowerShell team versus for a presenter. If I missed anything, retype it to the bottom so I can see it. Otherwise, I do want to thank all of our presenters today, and I want like the community to realize like this is a community call, it's not a PowerShell team call. So I really like seeing the split time between community topics versus PowerShell team stuff. And again, I would encourage anyone who, even if you never gave a demo before, this might be a great way to do it before you step up on a stage at one of the conferences, where you have a bunch of people staring at you. So I do encourage folks to try it out. Don't worry
Steve, I
about
got a
some
quick
of the
question.
big. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Hey, so when I was getting ready for my demo next week and kind of shaking off some of the cobwebs on secret management, I use the module pretty much every day, but I kind of find that once you get it set up and you have your secrets, it's just recalling most of the time. And so going through and doing some of the functions again, I realized there's an unregistered secret vault commandlet,
Mhm.
but when you do that, it leaves behind the vault. And so if you try to create another vault with the same name, you realize that the old vault is still there. And so there's really no good way to clean that up. And I was just wondering if there's any thoughts on maybe fixing that, or because what I ended up doing is blowing away into the folder, doing it all over fresh, but that
Yeah,
loses
yeah.
everything.
No, I heard. I think that was a design decision because in general we try to be on the safe side and not remove stuff by accident, right? But maybe what makes sense is maybe it makes sense to have a separate switch to. I hate to call it force, but something like remove or something like that. If you want to do the full cleanup, that's what you're asking for.
Well, so when I demo this stuff, I make a lot of quickie vaults, and then if you want to reuse that name, like
Yeah.
I used AKV today, I can't.
Yes.
Right? And so I don't know that's necessarily a problem today. I think it's more of people don't realize that when they unregister the vault, the file still lives on.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think maybe the best course for now is if you can open an issue in the secret management repo,
Sure.
we can kind of discuss the scenario, maybe because it'd be good to get like Paul, who actually owns this module, and maybe Sydney, who's the PM on this, to kind of also brainstorm on there may be other ways to solve this besides what's on top of my mind. So
Okay, I was going to do that, but I just figured I'd throw it out there.
yeah, no, that's great. It's really great to see people using some of these modules that we built. All right, anything else before we go? All right, if not, then I'm just take a quick look to make sure I didn't miss anything here.
Someone's asking about OpenSSH for Windows. Any updates?
Oh, so I think originally Danny was going to talk to some of that. Depends on what people are asking for updates. Like we are working. I think last week we did a big merge of upstream, so that hopefully will be published to the GitHub repo sometime in the near future. But shipping in Windows is always the Windows cycle, so we don't we have to stick with that. So we check in, and Windows I think is still shipping once a year, twice a year, 3 times, or whatever they do. But basically we check in, we try to get it updated whenever there's a major Windows release. But the latest version will be on the GitHub repo, which is not the production supported version, by the way. But so I'll just say we have been trying to figure out ways to get the Windows version of OpenSH update more frequently. I don't have anything to announce at this time. It's sort of like trying to get PowerShell 7 to Windows. These are not technical problems. There are other problems that make it hard. All right. But we haven't given up on any of these things. So, all right, I think we're at time.
One quick question
Go ahead.
on getting doc fixes in. If I notice issues, what's the most expedient way for me to let the team know about doc issues and suggest fixes?
So in the docs.microsoft.com, there is a link for, I think it's edit or something, where you could actually submit you can submit a PR.
Okay,
I mean, like, it's really up to you. Like, if you think it's like a very simple change, submit it as a PR. Sean is really good at reviewing those things and get those merged in and to get published much more quickly than like PowerShell itself. Alternatively, if you're not sure how to fix it, but you identify a problem, open an issue in the PowerShell docs repo.
All right, Sean, watch out. Here they come.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have actually under, well, in the main PowerShell docs set, there's a contributor's guide that talks about filing issues and submitting PRs. So take a look at that. And there's different docs are in different repos depending what you're looking at. So like Crescendo or Secrets Management is in a different repo from the main doc set. The easiest way to get to the repo is you click the pencil icon at the top of the page. That takes you to the source of that particular article. And then from there, you can get to the issues.
All right, Adam, you get the last question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Guys, I've suggested it to Jason already, but you need to purchase crescendo.io. You need to do it, man. You need to get a community together, get other people building Crescendo modules. I didn't like really plan it all out that well, my talk and that, but you need to do it, man. The website's available. Don't make me buy it, Steve.
All right. I'll talk to Jason again.
Me, mate. You
I'll talk to Jason.
Do it, mate. Do it, please.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.